Over the past 10 years, I've had the privilege to work with and train a lot of insurance agents. We're talking hundreds. Simple fact is we started my insurance agency, well, over 10 years ago at this point. The one thing that I do hear a lot from different agents is their expectations of different levels of success. It's kind of all over the place. So today, I'm going to be going over a few things that I've learned that should hopefully help you to have realistic results and expectations for life insurance and or final expense sales success based on several things, including your budget, your work ethic, your background, and your sales experience. If you're new to insurance sales, stick around to the end of this video. I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the free new agent telesales file that has different sales materials for agents to use for remote final expense and or life insurance sales. Today I'm going to start off with a quick story about a gentleman who was part of our agency last year. And he was basically there on and off. I'll explain. So, and the interesting thing about this gentleman was, the one thing I remember that sticks out big time is during our very first conversation, where I generally tell agents we only work with full-time agents, he told me, "I am going to be your best agent." I was like, okay, I like that. I like the enthusiasm. I like the energy. I love the whole idea of that, right? But he was like very specific. He said, "I'm going to write $10,000 to $15,000 in annualized premium every single week, pretty much right from the start." So I was like, okay, cool, interesting. Well, he did end up coming on board with us. And when he did, he brought it up again. And he made a statement like that to my business partner, the gentleman who runs the platform. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this guy's talking big numbers. So he and I had a really good conversation where I explained, look, if you want to do what you're saying you're going to do, I'm going to show you exactly what you have to do to make that happen. And one of the best things for this to happen is for you to really bust your butt in the beginning, work really hard to get through the learning curve. I basically showed him how many dials he's going to make and how many leads he's going to make. That way he could eventually be at this 10 to 15K AP weekly. And so the interesting part is he didn't do any of that. So he talked an awesome game. But then when I looked at his dials, like he was doing these part-time dials, he wasn't really trying very hard. Really, at the end of the day, I remember his first week, I looked at the call time, the time he spoke on the phone versus his dials, and I'm sitting there thinking, the guy's working 2-3 hours a day. I mean, maybe the maximum 3 hours a day. That's never gonna get him through the learning curve. And so I remember pointing it out to him, reaching out to him saying, hey, if you need help, please just let me know. I'm there for you. And over time, I want to say 4 to 5 weeks, maybe it was 5 weeks, he did this. He kept doing it each week. And he didn't do any of the stuff I suggested. He didn't do the work. He didn't increase his advertising budget. And because he was doing this part-time, he never really cut through the learning curve. Had he busted his butt for the first 3 weeks, he would have gotten through the learning curve. So here's what's interesting. He kind of gave up, kind of disappeared. And we see this a lot in our industry. And then months later, the phone rings and he's like, I want to do it again. I'm going to try it again. But this time, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to be your number one. He started with all that nonsense over again. And guess what happened? He didn't do anything. He did the same exact thing. With all that being said, allow me to help set up a realistic expectation for someone who is new to the life insurance sales and or final expense industry. And yes, please give this video a thumbs up, and we suggest you subscribe if you're a new viewer. We're putting out new insurance sales content and final expense sales training videos like pretty much every week. Let's talk learning curve. Now, when you're new to any business, there is going to be a learning curve. And that learning curve will be based on really how much time you put into preparation for that first day. This is important when you're an independent agent. You've got to do the work to prepare yourself. And I would say whether you're doing, face-to-face or telesales, my suggestion is to just put in several hours every single day into preparing for that business for at least 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, really work hard to be prepared so you don't struggle once you're doing the sales activities. When done correctly, we're talking a lot of work setting up multiple practice applications through different carriers that you'll be using, practicing the sales presentation script over and over and over until you've basically memorized it, and we're talking telesales. Now, if you're doing face-to-face sales, yeah, you do have to memorize it. I mean, to the point to where you sound like you've been making that presentation for years, by the time you start. And really, with telesales, you have to sound smart and professional. You really have to sound good right from the start. All the software, programs, websites involved need to be simple for you to use on that very first day. So yes, you need to spend a lot of time and more hours using them. The quoting software, the CRM/dialer, the carrier websites for the applications, etc. Now let's talk about your first day, day one. One of the things that I've seen over and over and over for new insurance agents is this attitude of, I don't know how to describe it. I can't figure out the why, but it's this attitude of doing a little bit of work in the first week, like you're going to suddenly start ramping it up over the next few weeks. Like it's okay to part-time it in the beginning, whether it's field sales, face-to-face sales, or remote telesales. Guys, this is a huge fail. And let me just go back and touch on, the gentleman I was talking about, I shared the story with. I had laid out a very simple way for him to reach his goals, the goals he set for himself and wanted to accomplish. I explained to him that he would have to work full-time and make at least, and I'm being very sincere, at least $100 to $150 per day, and be willing to increase his advertising budget by like a couple of $100 per week each week, so that within a few weeks, the idea was we wanted him to have a lot of new leads and appointments of people that were interested in the insurance. He didn't either. He didn't work one full 7-hour day. I'm calling 7 hours full. He didn't, not even close, and wasn't even averaging like 50 dials a day. Now, it was really messed up. He never increased his ads budget. Again, he just didn't do any of that. And let me give you a realistic expectation. If you want success in final expense and or life insurance sales, you're gonna need to work your butt off right from the start. It's the fact. So if you've got work ethic issues, that is something you need to fix and correct immediately. If you're going independent and you expect to earn at least $100K per year right from the start, which we have multiple agents that have done that and do that, expect to invest at least $1,000 per week into your advertising budget or your leads. And we'll assume your contract level is, I want to say at least 110% for the main level products, and that those products are competitive. So like with us, we work with 15 different carriers. We don't have the agent's contract with all those carriers, but we have them. And let's assume that you've put in that time. You spent at least 3 to 5 hours per day, again, busting your butt just to be prepared for that first day. And now you're not just fumbling and bumbling through your sales presentation and process. And let's also assume that you sound smooth and professional, like I mentioned before, and somewhat likable to the prospect, to the clients. If you're new to sales, we'll also assume that you've put in time to work on yourself. You've read books, you've done a lot of soul searching, you're determined to be successful. There is no way, failure is not an option. Let's talk a little bit about part-time success and assume that you're doing what needs to be done to be prepared to sell part-time. And guys, unfortunately, my experience with agents who do this has been horrible, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. Pretty much an insignificant amount of agents have been able to transition from part-time to full-time and actually see 100K per year and or more, even eventually, without having serious financial issues and or, I want to say, multiple versions and levels of failure. A good comparison would be, I would say, attempting to become a dental hygienist by going to school part-time, only instead of thinking that you'll end up earning, the 65K per year that, an average full-time dental hygienist makes, in your mind you're thinking, I'm gonna make 100K. Meanwhile, you're entering the dental industry as a part-timer that wants to transition to full-time eventually. And think about it. You'd end up going to school for years. likely end up in debt, and then the results won't be what you hoped. And I hate to say it, but now you're just trying to figure out how to pay your bills, and you're complaining on TikTok videos about how hard it is to succeed and how nobody told you it was going to be like this, but the truth is you kind of did things your own way. With any business, especially insurance sales, you are only going to get out of it based on the work that you do to obtain that success. Guys, that insurance license, honest to God, it is like having your own money printing machine in the back room. All you gotta do is turn that sucker on. Put your heart and soul into your success. Make serious sacrifices. Do what has to be done, and one day, you'll never have to sacrifice anything ever again. If you'd like a copy of the free new agent telesales file that I did mention earlier in the video, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com for more information on working with us on our remote final expense sales preset appointments platform, where you can get 20 to 30 appointments every single day. Just shoot me an email at that same address. As always, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, get out there, get off that couch, put that headset on, and whatever you do, just make sure that you do something good for someone else today. Happy hunting.